Key aspects of Žižek's cynicism. First, cynical ideology. Žižek builds on Peter Sloterdijk's idea of cynical reason in his book, The Sublime Object of Ideology. Sloterdijk describes modern cynicism as a form of enlightened false consciousness, where people are aware of the contradictions or problems in their ideologies but continue to follow them regardless. Žižek takes this further, arguing that ideology today doesn't necessarily require people to blindly believe in it. Rather, they can see through it and still be complicit. People know what they do, yet they still do it, often explaining it with a shrug of, "That's just the way things are." Second, cynicism and capitalism. Žižek argues that late capitalism thrives on cynicism, as people are fully aware of the inequalities, environmental issues, and moral compromises involved in capitalist systems, yet continue to participate. For instance, a corporate executive might know that their business practices harm the environment or exploit workers, but they justify their actions because someone has to do it. This cynical awareness allows individuals to reconcile themselves with the very systems they criticize, avoiding genuine resistance. Third, cynical distance. Žižek speaks about cynical distance as a defense mechanism. By maintaining a distance from ideology, often through irony or humor, people believe they are not fully under its influence. For example, a person might joke about their job being meaningless or mock corporate slogans, thinking this distance liberates them from the capitalist system. However, Žižek argues that this distancing still serves ideology because it allows people to participate in the system without confronting or changing it. Fourth, the role of fantasy. Drawing on Lacanian psychoanalysis, Žižek sees cynicism as tied to the concept of fantasy, which supports our continued participation in flawed systems. Fantasy allows individuals to reconcile the gaps or contradictions within ideology. In this sense, cynical distance provides a space where people can privately recognize the flaws in the system while still enjoying the benefits or comforts it provides. The fantasy acts as a buffer, preserving the system by preventing direct confrontation with its failures. Finally, cynicism versus cynicism. Žižek sometimes contrasts modern cynicism with ancient cynicism, a term used by Peter Sloterdijk, as practiced by Diogenes the Cynic. Ancient cynicism is an active form of rejection, where one openly mocks social norms and resists established values. Cynicism is confrontational and subversive, directly challenging the societal norms it rejects. In contrast, modern cynicism is passive and allows individuals to function within a corrupt system without feeling a need to change it. Cynicism and its social consequences. Žižek warns that modern cynicism is self-defeating. By acknowledging the flaws in society but continuing to participate, cynicism enables the persistence of unjust systems. This attitude fosters complacency, as it avoids the discomfort and sacrifice that genuine resistance or change might require. In other words, cynicism might be one of the most effective means of ideological control because it allows people to acknowledge problems without feeling responsible for them. For Slavoj Žižek, cynicism and fundamentalism are interrelated responses to the perceived failures of ideology in contemporary society, especially within the context of capitalism and modernity. Žižek argues that these two attitudes are complementary reactions to the crisis of belief and meaning in a globalized, secular world where traditional sources of identity and values have been destabilized. Here's how he connects cynicism to fundamentalism. First, cynicism and fundamentalism as opposite reactions to ideological disillusionment. Žižek sees cynicism and fundamentalism as two opposing but related responses to the loss of meaning in a postmodern, consumer-driven society. Cynicism represents a detached, ironic stance where individuals see through ideology and adopt a skeptical attitude toward truth and values, accepting contradictions without genuine commitment. Fundamentalism, on the other hand, represents an overcompensating reassertion of belief, a reactionary retreat to absolute certainties and strict, often literal interpretations of ideology or religion. While cynics respond to the collapse of ideological foundations by disengaging and embracing irony, fundamentalists respond by doubling down on rigid beliefs as a way of restoring order and purpose. Both responses, Žižek argues, reflect an inability to navigate the complexities and contradictions of modern ideology in a constructive way. Second, Fundamentalism as a symptom of cynicism. Žižek often argues that fundamentalism can emerge as a symptom of cynicism. In societies where cynicism toward ideology is widespread, individuals may feel a profound sense of disorientation, and some might respond by embracing fundamentalist beliefs as a way to find stability and certainty. This fundamentalist reaction can be seen as an overcorrection to the detachment of cynicism, the cynical ideology and its coexistence with fundamentalism. Žižek describes modern capitalist ideology as a form of cynical ideology. Unlike traditional ideology, which requires belief and faith in its tenets, cynical ideology allows people to openly acknowledge contradictions and yet continue to participate in the system. People can say, "I know it's a lie, but I still go along with it." This ironic distance, according to Žižek, makes it difficult to develop genuine resistance because people have already accepted the contradictions without feeling a need for change. Fundamentalism in this context can act as a counterforce within the cynical framework. While the majority of people may accept capitalism's contradictions with a cynical shrug, fundamentalists offer a simplified alternative, a system of belief where truth and meaning are presented as absolute and unambiguous. This is appealing to some because it promises clarity and certainty in a world that otherwise feels hypocritical and aimless. Fundamentalism as a quest for true belief and the return of the real for Žižek. Fundamentalism can be seen as an attempt to reclaim true belief or authenticity that has been lost in cynical consumerist culture. While the cynic knows the game and plays along without committing fully, the fundamentalist represents a return to a passionate belief, even if it is often reactionary or extreme. Žižek refers to this as the return of the real, the re-emergence of something authentic and uncompromising that confronts the emptiness of cynical detachment. This can be seen in various forms of fundamentalism, from religious extremism to nationalistic fervor, where people reject the perceived fakeness of modern society and seek out a form of life that they see as pure, absolute, or grounded in tradition. The dangerous symbiosis of cynicism and fundamentalism. Žižek warns that this combination of cynicism and fundamentalism is particularly dangerous because it creates a feedback loop that prevents genuine ideological critique and transformation. Cynicism alone breeds apathy, and fundamentalism fills the void with rigid ideologies that resist questioning. This relationship can be observed in contemporary politics, where cynical detachment from established institutions coincides with the rise of populist or fundamentalist movements that claim to offer absolute solutions. In summary, for Žižek, cynicism and fundamentalism are interconnected responses to the perceived hollowness of modern ideology. Cynicism accepts contradictions and engages in ironic distance, while fundamentalism rejects ambiguity, seeking to restore absolute belief. Fundamentalism can be seen as a reaction to the disorientation caused by cynicism, providing a sense of certainty that cynicism lacks. Both attitudes prevent constructive engagement with ideology, creating a cycle where neither genuine critique nor transformation is possible. Žižek's analysis suggests that breaking free from this cycle requires a different approach altogether, one that acknowledges contradictions and ambiguities, but still commits to genuine critique and transformative potential.